Yeah, dude, I've been good. What are you doing? Do you know how to run a podcast? Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Brian Michael Day.
My name is Thomas Grimm.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah, joining us this week in the Days Grimm studio is one of my local favorites, local legend, MCINTO H. How are you?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Damn, dude. I have to say, by the way, we've been talking for a minute, like pre-show before we hit record on this. You have a beautiful chocolatey voice. It is very bassy, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it.
What is
Thank you so much.
what's the deepest voice in the like in the singing range? You know what I'm talking about? Is that like a baritone?
Bass?
Is it just bass?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a good bass voice, dude.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, MCINTO H, welcome to the studio, brother.
So,
It's
for
awesome to
for
be
the
here.
people that don't know who you are,
Yeah.
the main reason we had you in is because you changed your profile picture from one I took 6 years ago. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Dude, I was the photo for so long. I think I
Somebody-
still am on Instagram.
Somebody is shitty, dude.
No, that was like one
Wow,
of my
Tom.
that was like one of my favorite things is like as a photographer, when you take somebody's picture and they choose to make it their profile picture, and MCINTO has had the photo I took of his for like the longest. It's still like up there or whatever. But like I met you through I was in the bar scene and then taking photos of people, and then I met you and you're doing music and all this jazz. And we linked up. We did some photos.
Awesome pics. I got to get another session booked for sure.
For sure. I'll do it for free for you.
That's
Oh,
love.
yeah.
Much love.
That's
Maybe
love.
don't just throw that out there for the public and be like, why is he shooting free shots for fucking
MCINTO is
Mac, dude?
MCINTO,
This is
man.
bullshit, dude.
Dude, even before I met you, people were like, yo, there's this guy in town, MCINTO H. He makes the dopest beats. Like the instrument, like guru. Like I feel like, how many different instruments can you play?
Guitar, piano, recorder, like song flute,
Hell
and
yeah.
then drum set. So only like 4.
I play the recorder as well.
That's where we all kinda started.
I learned in the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
I've been fucking shredding on that recorder, bro. No, but I did hear some of your keys in we were playing a little bit of your stuff of what you have on Spotify, which will you pull that up real quick? Yeah. Here we go. So that's MCINTO $H MCINTO H on Spotify. But yeah,
You said you've been straying away from this. You're getting into like a new genre, and we'll kind of gear into that maybe later on in the show.
For
but I was
sure.
gonna say, do you want to give our listeners a brief like elevator pitch? Who you are, what you do. You just got done doing some really cool stuff with Jelly Roll.
Yeah. Well, I'm an artist, producer, writer, just overall thinker in general. Just trying to kind of put on for not only the city, but for the world. I'm just all about positive vibes.
Hell yeah.
Really, you know what I mean? Very experienced with the industry, kind of got a love-hate relationship with that. More love than hate. But yeah, it's been kind to me overall. Life has been very kind, so I got to be thankful for that.
I have a question immediately.
For
The first thing that stuck out in your elevator pitch for me was thinker, dude. First
Yeah.
and foremost, I think that's the most thought-provoking thing that you said in that whole spiel right there. We're going to talk heavily about music today, but like thinker. Can you like expand on that? What do you mean?
Just kind of
Like
taking the
philosophizing?
experiment. Yeah, like taking the experiment of life and the experience of life, and just being very cerebral in my approach to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Not necessarily just following and swallowing anything I hear, but like doing my own research on stuff. And and that's one thing that the industry definitely did for me too, is I kind of got to see behind the veil of a lot of different ideals that the TV and the radio kind of show us as this is what it is. But really, when you kind of get behind it, a lot of the sets are small. A lot of the people are into stuff you probably didn't think, And so for me, I was just able to kind of take a different approach to, astrology, physiology, psychology, philosophy, and just kind of overall just become like this well-rounded individual experience in life. So
That's like you're putting out Chance vibes right now. I feel like Chance is that way. You know what I mean? He's pretty cerebral, how he kind of like dissects a certain thing in a song and he talks about it kind of in and out. Nothing is off topic for Chance, and I like that. It's kind of putting out those vibes.
Did you get to meet Jesse Murphy with the Jelly Roll situation?
The first year, so in 23, she was on tour with them, but I didn't actually meet her. She's actually got a new artist named Lainey that was opening for him.
Oh, the country singer.
Yeah.
So she's so good.
Yeah.
She's so
So
fucking
she was
good.
positive vibes. Definitely love her band. And then Shabuzi was on this
She
time.
looks good in a pair of bell bottoms. Golly.
Yeah,
Do you know who he's talking about?
No.
Look, will you look?
I know her,
Lainey
Jesse.
Rhodes, I think.
Yeah, Lainey Rhodes. Will you look her up real quick? Dude, this woman has the voice of an angel. I think she lost some weight though, which is a real bummer because she looked good. That is the wrong one.
Yeah, I might have got her last name wrong.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Lainey, I should know. Lainey, what? I can't remember. Here nor there. She looks good in a pair of bell bottoms. I'll tell you that for sure.
But yeah, no, Jessie Murphy, very talented though. She's really taken off. She's kind of like doing her own thing. She actually went on tour. I want to say maybe it was her own tour this second year that I was around Jason, which that's just kind of what I call
the
wrong.
thing. So like Brian, would say listens to more mainstream music, and I listen to more like underground music. And
Unless it's metal.
Yeah.
Then I'm off
You
the
listen
grid.
to all music.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is so like being this like way of like listening to underground music or just all music to a degree is like you find people like Jessie Murphy. Like I found her like 3 years ago. So basically like right before, like maybe a year before she blew up.
Yeah.
Same with like a few other of these people. So it's pretty cool to like find somebody and like enjoy their music before they take off and be like, oh, I was kind of right about
Yeah,
that.
I found you first. So one question I do have, I like to ask everybody that comes through, have you seen any of the shows or listened to any of the shows before the Days Grimm podcast?
No, just
So you're coming
got
in-
the personal relationship with Tom. That's
Hell
it.
yeah,
So
dude.
I'm excited.
Well, so we do this thing every week before we really start the interview, and a lot of people look forward to it. Sometimes we do it. Most of the times we do it. Sometimes we don't. But this week we are going to do it. It's called, Tom,
The death of the week.
will you fire it up? We got some sick intro music for this. Hold on a second.
The death of the
Those are my vocals, by the way. All right, guys. This week's Death of the Week brought to you by WashingtonTimes.com, WashingtonTimes.com. Here we go. Coroner says teen dies after huffing computer keyboard duster. All right. This is per KILN Mississippi, Kiln, Mississippi, AP. I don't know what all that means. Authorities say a teenage boy died Sunday apparently as a result of inhaling aerosol computer keyboard duster. According to local media reports, Hancock County Coroner Jim Falk identified the victim as 14-year-old Charles Stroud of Picayune. Falk says Stroud showed signs of inhaling the chemicals found in the air duster or gas duster used to clean computer keyboards. Falk says butane is one among the chemicals found in the air duster, and it, along with others, can deprive the brain of oxygen. Stroud was taken to Hancock Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. Falk says no autopsy will be conducted, though authorities are awaiting some lab results to conclude the death investigation. Again, that's per WashingtonTimes.com.
Oh, fairly recent. Tuesday, March 24th.
Oh, yeah.
2015.
Nice.
Just kidding.
Oh, AP Associated Press. I should have known that. I'm so stupid. Here's my thoughts on that. I know a lot of people that should have died from this.
Yeah, that was such a weird face from like high school.
everyone did it.
I did not do it.
I didn't do it, but they would like spray it in the bag.
That's spray paint.
No.
Duster is kind of like whipped cream.
Do you do it upside down? Is that what it is?
You
Or
don't
something?
do it upside down.
You don't do
You
it
do
upside
it normal, like whipped cream, where you're supposed to tilt it upside down to get the whipped cream out. You do it
Yeah.
upright. That's whippets. But
but it's the same thing, right?
yeah, I think so.
And it like changes your voice, doesn't it?
I don't think Duster does.
Doesn't it change your voice? Have you ever seen anybody do
That's
it?
white people shit.
Yeah, no, the huffing was a big thing.
See?
Back in the day.
I
for
think this was
sure.
a thing. It was
I
like
know helium changes your voice, but I didn't know that.
I think Duster does.
No, but there is one that's heavier than oxygen that does, but it's not anything along those lines.
I think it's the Duster, and it
The
like
only reason
makes your voice real deep.
The only reason I picked this one is because like we try to normally find one that like works with the guests, and I was like keyboard, so I searched like death by keyboard, and it was just a bunch of like keyboardists talking about how their keyboard no longer works. And it was like 20 pages of just like my keyboard no
Rest
longer
in
works.
peace to my
Yeah,
keyboard.
exactly.
Like have a Viking funeral.
But then I thought of this, and I was like, you know what, like. Out of like the music industry, the audio industry, the editing industry, like keeping your equipment clean is something that's like, I mean, I took apart an old laptop and I had like a bunch of keef and like weed crumbs in it, you know? So
that'll
like,
happen, dude.
yeah, but like if you keep your equipment clean, then this won't happen.
Yeah, don't
Use the chemicals.
don't use keyboard duster for anything other than dusting electronics,
Keyboards.
please and thank you. That's this week's Death of the Week, again brought to you by WashingtonTimes.com. So,
Macintosh. You grew up in Evansville?
I did.
So like which school did you go to?
I actually went to a multicultural elementary school called Harusa. It's where Joshua Academy is now, right across from Rally's on 41. Born and raised South Side, so like Monroe.
So
Grew up on Blackford.
you're into music now. Did you get into music in elementary school, or were you not really into it in elementary school?
Yeah, no, actually, I did. Since it was so multicultural, we used to always have like these different days where one day the whole school would be like Italy, or like another day the whole school would be Africa or whatever. And so starting off with just like bongo drums and just hitting, percussive beats. I mean, that goes all the way back to as early as I can really remember, just kind of falling in love with rhythms and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say music was engraved from the very beginning. Plus, even at my church, I mean, I was already involved singing and stuff. So
also, I feel like anytime I've never really mentioned this to any musicians that we've interviewed a lot of musicians, a lot of bands, but I really feel like that, and you could disagree or agree. I'd be curious your thoughts on this, but I feel like when you're learning music as a child, I feel like, or for the first time, percussion really is the beginning, because you have to have tempo. So it's the
rhythm and the time is like the skeleton.
It all
of
starts
all.
with percussion.
Yeah.
See,
So
I
is that
didn't- that wasn't mine.
That wasn't yours?
They start you with like choir and singing and all that jazz before you even get into remotely like touching an instrument. I think the first instrument we touched was like a tangerine.
But everything's got a
tambourine.
tempo. I think that's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah,
Like,
less for children, essentially, or less for children and learning, but essentially, like when you break music down, it starts with time and percussion and beats per minute,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean. So I feel
tempo.
like
Yeah.
all music breaks down to percussion. Like if you have a band and your drummer is all yoked out and he can't keep his shit together, you're probably gonna have a rough fucking night. You know what I mean? Right? Don't you think?
No, that's for sure.
Yeah. So you
That's for
drummers,
sure.
tighten up, dude.
So you said, like even before school necessarily, you had like an early love for music through church and everything along those lines.
Mhm.
Was it like a very like not non-denominational but like soulful church?
Well, it actually is non-denominational, and it's actually a cappella too. So
oh yeah.
I learned a lot about where the notes go that work, chords that are gonna work, and then chords that don't. Even learning some of the dissonance and major sevenths, minor sevenths, fifths, stuff like that. It's like kind of getting a feel for what energy comes out of certain notes. Like if you have a keyboard and you hit an F, which is white, and then you hit the C, that's also white. If you diminish it or make it minor with the black key that's in the middle, I think it's A flat. It's like that gives you that aggression, versus if you hit the white key that's in the middle, it gives you this really bright, optimistic type of energy. And so I learned early on kind of how to manipulate what energy comes out of which notes. And so that was kind of the beginning of like my producing life.
Well, that's how a lot of people find that love for music, is there's like something that attaches to an emotion that they've felt at some point, or it takes them back to like a memory in time.
We have talked about that with most musicians. It usually comes up how we talk about like how a note can just like bring up a sense of like nostalgia. You know what I mean? Or how music can just make you feel a way.
It's like that Kanye song where he just hits that one key for like the first 15 seconds.
Dun. Yeah. And it's like the hair on the back of your neck type feeling. Like music does that. Like, what the fuck is that? No one knows what that is. I don't feel like. Also, I should have prefaced, I swear a lot.
Hey, it's all good.
Damn, I didn't even think about that. I'm here with a church going, man, and I'm sitting here swearing like a
love.
sailor. But yeah, dude, I feel like that's weird. What do you think that is? I ask a lot of musicians this. The answer is always kind of different.
Well, I think it's partially a spiritual thing, but partially too, it's just like the vibrations. So it's like we're made of so much water as human beings, and so the ways that certain notes resonate and vibrate, it has an effect on our brains and on us on a cellular level. And so for me, I was a child of a single parent. So my mom would be at the mall getting her nails done, and the first thing I would do is run the Radio Shack. That's back when they would have the keyboards out.
Oh yeah.
And just experimenting on, how these different notes vibrate, what kind of feelings come out of these different combinations. And I think every artist, the ones that are really, really good, or the writers or the producers that work with the artists that are really good, they know how to evoke and encapsulate a certain energy and feeling based on the resonances of the different notes and the different chords and the way that vibration affects you on a cellular level.
Same with like beats per minute, right? Like certain beats per minute are like certain emotion ranges.
Can invoke certain things.
Yeah, or even just like the frequency of the actual 808. And I know Kanye's talked a lot about this as far as at what frequency that 808 vibrates can cause people to get violent or sexual or whatever else. You know what I mean? It's like a scientific thing. It's like these certain energies live in these certain frequencies. So.
Whatever frequency Yoko Ono is operating on, it most certainly induces anxiety and stress. Have you ever listened to Yoko Ono?
No.
It'll hurt. It's not enjoyable. She was the reason that the guy from the Beatles got shot and killed.
Oh, man.
That was... Who was it? John.
Lennon.
Yeah, John
Wow.
Lennon was dating Yoko. Yeah, she essentially broke up the Beatles.
So after elementary school, middle school, I guess like middle school, your music.
Yeah, where'd you go to middle school too?
Well, not even necessarily that, but like your like the instruments that are available to you grow in middle school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I went to Evans, and Evans had a really, really good music program there. That's kind of where I got into tonette, flute, and stuff like that. I remember the first thing I ever played was the theme song to an old cartoon that starred the Tasmanian Devil. He had his own cartoon a long, long time ago. And it was like, something Tasmania. And that was like the first thing I learned how to play. And I remember this guy named Doug Glazebrook. He was the music teacher. And he was just so impressed that I had the ear to be able to, that Tasmania one, right there, 1991 and 1975.
Oh, I remember Tasmania.
Yeah, so being able to play that, he was just like, you got a really awesome ear and you need to cultivate it. And so I just kind of never let it go after that.
That show must have sucked. It only ran for 4 years, just for 91 to 95.
A lot of those kids grew up, and the next generation liked different style cartoons.
That checks out, man. But shout out to the Taz, dude. He's a beast. Yeah. So you went to Evans.
Did you play wind instruments all through middle school? Or did you switch
it kind of stopped at saxophone because clarinet and the reeds never really worked out too well. By that time, I had moved on to the trap set, so I was already like drumming. But at that time, I was in like concert bands, so we weren't the ones that necessarily were out on the field with the sports teams, but we were the ones that were traveling to like Indianapolis and places like that. And
for
just
competition.
Yeah, and just doing classical works.
Yeah.
And so I played timpani for that. And then that just kind of...
What's the trap set?
The trap set is like your standard drum set for like a jazz band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the timpani is like those two really big, they're like congos, but you hit them with soft mallets.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
look like marshmallows.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
So basically, a piano that you hit with sticks.
No. He's talking about big old.
That sounds more like xylophone.
Yeah,
you're
right,
thinking of a
right.
xylophone.
These are just two really big, they're like Congo drums almost.
I know what you're talking about, and then
Yeah.
it has like a little slide to where you can hit the different note.
Well, you have to set which note it's going to be before the song starts because you only have the two.
Gotcha.
But
I remember like in middle school, I wanted to play in the percussion group, and they took me in there, and they had that drum, and like the guy was basically like, "Is this note higher or lower than the last note?" And he'd like hit one, and then he'd like switch it later on and do it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got them all right, and I was like, "Cool, so I can be in the percussion." He's like, "No, we need a bass player in the orchestra." I was like, "What the fuck?"
Standing cello.
I'm like,
Dude, there's
So
something to
bad.
be said. We were just talking to a comedian the other day about bluegrass bands. There's something about a standing cello or a standing bass guitar or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they use where they like pluck it.
this
It
is.
looks like a cello. They're fucking sick.
We had
dude.
an Asian girl that was adopted, and her parents made her switch from every. So that they do chair. Did they do chair in yours? So like
yeah,
first
first
chair
chair,
or
yeah.
whatever.
For sure.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
And
about.
so like she started in violin. She worked all the way to like first chair. First year, she stayed in first chair the whole year.
Yeah.
Her parents the next year made her switch to like viola. And they were like, all right, now get first chair. And she got first chair, was there for like 6 months. And they're like, all right, now switch to cello. And she got first chair in it. And then we got the bass, and she like got first, and she's like, you know, I really don't want another first chair because all these kids are starting to judge me. So if you could like be better and like take first chair from me, I was like, damn. But were you first chair? Or did anybody like? Did you have any
in the
rivalry?
percussion section, it wasn't so much like cheers, like that part, but you know, I was the only timpani guy though. You know, that was like my spot.
Oh yeah.
That's sick, dude. That's so fucking sick. So you do that through junior high all the way into high school?
And traveling.
Yeah.
And where'd you go to high school at?
Old North on
Old
Stringtown.
North. Hell yeah, Stringtown,
Yeah.
dude. That's what's up, man.
Passed it on the way here.
So North, and then by North though, it was a little weird because I was starting to kind of be known for my intelligence in academia. So that was the year that sixth school opened up half day. So I only went to North half day, and I went to Signature Learning Center the other half day. Yeah.
Damn, did you have to? So, like, were you so smart that, like, it was almost like a scholarship? You didn't have to pay for it?
No, there was no money back then whatsoever. They just wanted the smartest kids. they
Yeah,
could
now
find.
now you got to pay a
Yeah, it's
lot
crazy.
to get your kid into sixth school
Really? I
downtown.
didn't
Yeah,
know
it's
that.
expensive.
I know they take only like the best and brightest of like that group of like age group going through.
Yeah, like 3 of my friends from Mount Vernon High School got abducted and dragged over
But
there.
we didn't have that where I went. So like sixth school and stuff like that. So like I guess you're kind of strict. Like you're taking stuff serious, or did it just like come easy to you? Your homework? flew
Yeah, no,
together?
it was like I was the type of student to where if you gave me a standardized test or you tested me on everything from a whole semester at one time, I'd get an A. But if you told me to maintain a notebook for a whole 6 weeks, it's no way.
not happening.
I'm going to lose it. I'm going to be trying to make up for like lost pages at the end. So it was more of like a consistency thing for me just because I wasn't really super engaged. But by high school, I was already rapping though. I already had like a rap group.
So you're
by
already
that
like
time.
hanging out with friends, forming a band, making
Yeah,
music.
'cause,
What was like the early days of making music like then? Because
Well-
this is before, you know, the new MacBooks with Logic Pro or Fruit Loops or anything like that.
Well, Fruity Loops, I've been on Fruity Loops since it didn't have any numbers behind it. So I remember Fruity Loops
Damn.
1, or Fruity Loops 2 rather, Fruity Loops 3, 3.5.
It was free, wasn't it?
yeah.
Fruity Loops was free. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and so I have an aunt that's from St. Louis, and she was instrumental in raising an artist named Ali, who was really close with Nelly and the St. Lunatics.
Oh,
So
yeah,
he's an
dude.
older guy. Yeah. So it was always like my group's big dream
God
to
bless
like be able to link up with Nelly and link up with Ali, because in a sense we were cousins, quote unquote,
right.
or whatever. So I had a rap group then, and then
Were you able to reach out to your cousin and get like any advice?
You know, I still haven't been able to actually talk to him.
Damn.
Still. But every time I see that aunt, you know, it's all love. And when I see his son or her son, my cousin, it's always, you know, love and all of that good stuff. But we had a member of my rap group tragically drowned. That's back when people used
Jesus.
to go swimming in the quote unquote stripping pits. This is back when they were building 69.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
all
know
the
what you're
minor
talking about.
pits.
And it would
Yep.
and it would fill up with water. And
Mhm.
he ended up getting pulled under by a current. And so after he passed, kind of everybody in the group kind of started splitting their own separate ways. And I graduated in 2003. By 2006, I had there was this website called SoundClick. It's like the predecessor to SoundCloud. And I produced a record on there. And a guy out in Philadelphia named John Coleman had picked it up for a group called TYM, Talented Young Men, that ended up getting on an old show on BET called 106 in Park back
So
in
when
that
you say
day.
you dropped an album, was this like mainly beats?
Well,
Or-
on the website it was just a beat, but we had done songs,
right.
but we at that time it was still hard CDs.
I'm just trying to build this picture of like, because before I met you, there's this guy MCINTO H, the legendary like beat maker that like you might not meet. You know,
Yeah.
was like that was like the picture painted to me was like you got to find this guy.
Yeah, because I had already left by that time, but we went to North with our CD. You know, we were giving it out at like lunchtime. I mean, we had already been like doing beats on the tables, freestyle raps, and all that good
Hell
stuff.
yeah.
So we had an actual hard CD, and that was the plan to get it to Nelly and Ali and them, the hard CD. But on the website, though, it was just instrumentals I had put up. SoundClick was just for instrumentals.
It's like BBL Drizzy
Yeah.
on SoundCloud.
Yeah, and so when that group got picked up, or when that group picked up that record and did a song to it, they went on 106 in Park and they won. So the manager was like, "Hey, come out here, live with us." You know, they're shopping
Philly?
some record deals. Yeah,
What?
this is yeah.
And
Philadelphia.
this is like a couple years after you.
Yeah,
graduated.
Germantown. I'm big on Broad Street. That's my
Bro, you didn't
215.
hesitate. You didn't.
Oh yeah, no.
You just picked your shit up and you're like, I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I went to Chicago. Well, this is okay. So this is the crazy story with that.
dude, that's crazy.
I went to Chicago first to catch a plane out of O'Hare Airport.
What are the odds of that, dude? What are the
There are
fucking
no odds. It was all meant to be, no odds. But I went to go catch a plane out of O'Hare Airport, and a guy who I'd been working with online, he was heavily involved with the Gangsters Disciples there. They were in a turf war with the Latin Kings. He had got me involved in some stuff by proxy, so I ended up missing the plane. But I'll never forget, we were riding on Lakeshore Drive, smoking, listening to the show as it was going on, and you know, they were up by a certain percentage still, and so they ended up winning using my beat. So then the guy in Philly was like, "Yeah, you got to get out here." So I ended up catching a plane about a month or so later, went to Philadelphia, lived with them for a while. They had a couple record deal offers, and then when they disbanded, I came back to Chicago in lieu of Evansville, and this was about 2007. At that time, I got linked up with a guy named Andre Mayon, who's related to Hype Williams. Hype Williams, of course, directed Belly, directed a bunch of big-time music videos like Scream for Michael Jackson, XYZ.
Yeah.
So I worked as a production assistant on Kanye West's Homecoming video with the guy from Coldplay, the Chris, I can't think of his last name.
Coldplay slaps, dude.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite bands. And so I worked as a production assistant, got to meet Hype Williams, worked very closely with them. We also wrote a treatment for Twista, Wetter, Loving His Club by Jamie Foxx, Tokyo by Lupe Fiasco.
So like when you're
Lupe.
So, like,
dude, I
what-
forgot about
Lupe's
Lupe.
so like
dude.
what would you say like so you're experiencing different sounds from what like
yeah.
like Evansville hasn't really came up with its own sound yet, but it has like its own sound. I just don't know what genre to put it in yet necessarily because nobody's really blown up from here or brought attention to here. I would say
Yet.
there's people that have blown up, but then they've blown up from like Nashville, and they're like Nashville. You know, it's not like look here for talent. But I was gonna say like Evansville has a sound, Chicago has a sound, Philly has a sound. You know, Kanye comes from Chicago. You know, some of these other people, Lupe I think comes from Chicago too,
Yeah.
right?
Chance comes
15.
from Chicago.
Right. So like, what's it like to like basically have to like uptake your roots of like your Evansville sound, or do you think that there is
Well, at
no?
that time, I mean, Chicago like was my home even more so than Evansville during that time because, you know, I didn't really have anybody outside of the guy who I'd worked with on the internet. I mean, I was basically making it on
you were just
my
locked
own
in
as
yourself.
yeah, and it's like I had, you know, Andre and Hype, and so I think to be attached to somebody who had so much hip hop cachet at that time, you know, it just kind of felt really authentic. I ended up working on a BT special called Ex-Felons and the Right to Vote in 2008. And so I moved to New York City after that and was living on 88th and Roosevelt in Spanish Queens, and just really getting a sense for kind of what life was like as an artist
In a
full
big
time.
city.
Yeah. And so I had like the Philly experience. I had already had the Chicago experience, and then like I got the New York experience.
Were you just like tired and hungry all the time?
No, not
Everything is so goddamn expensive in New York City, dude.
not at all. The beautiful thing about New York was you don't need a car.
Walk
Nothing
everywhere.
ever closes. Well, you just hop on a train
Yeah.
and go to 40 Deuce, which is, Times Square or whatever. And it's like, you can go to 42nd any time of day or night, and it's going to be the same. So you go 12 noon, you go 12 midnight, you still have access to everything. You've got people out there playing instruments with a guitar case open. You can always make money that way.
When you were in elementary school and you got to like play that first instrument, did you think that it would ever take you to New York, Chicago, Philadelphia? Like, did you?
At that time, honestly, I couldn't have expected everything that opened up after 06. I think 06 blew the door open off the industry for me, because, well, a mix between 06 and 07, because I think by the time I got with Hype, it was kind of a situation, because Hype is also related to a couple other people. He's related to Eric White and a director called Little X. So Eric White directed a movie called Lottery Ticket in 2010, and so he blessed me and put me on the soundtrack or in the original score of that movie. That's movies with Little Bow Wow and Brandon T. Jackson or whatever.
Oh,
T-Pain.
damn.
Yeah. And so I got linked up with those guys, worked on a T-Pain video called Booty Work.
Booty work.
Yeah.
Hell
So
yeah,
it's
dude.
like, so I had like this inner circle of like really famous people that were just really embracing me as like, yo, this dude's really talented. It really didn't matter where I was from. It really didn't matter what I had going on. They were just like, he's an authentic guy. He's always smiling. He's always just trying to help. He's not necessarily looking for his own personal gain or interest or whatever. And so I felt really at home in the industry until about 2009. And in 2009, my barber had a guy from New York City that was supplying marijuana there, and he was coming in on Fridays. And the crazy thing about why he was even in Chicago was he had met a girl on the highway, flagged a girl on the highway down, got her pregnant, right? So he was like stuck coming back there.
God damn, dude.
But him and his brother
Oh my god.
had some connections with MC Light, and they had done a lot of street work for Jay-Z.
Okay.
So long story short, he was coming in selling my barber weed. My barber's like, hey, this guy can really rap. He's skeptical, of course. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from small town in Indiana. He puts me in a position basically to where they take me out to New York, and I get my first record deal offer from Def Jam in 2009. It was a $1.5 million deal for 3 years or 3 albums. It was compared to Drake, Kid Cudi, Charles Hamilton. Those were big artists that were kind of doing the sing rap thing at the time. In 2008, I had seen a DVD by a minister named G. Craig Lewis by EX Ministries, where he was talking about all these people in the music industry were into the occult and they were into Satan worship and stuff like this or whatever.
Okay, now you're barking up my alley. Okay.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
so
No, I'm joking.
and so I was kind of like taken aback by that, but I was so close
That's
to so
messed
many
up.
people
Yeah.
that I was like, well, I'm not seeing this in my own personal experience, with people. But the thing that the guy did though, this G. Craig Lewis guy, he played a Jay-Z song from the Gray album, which is where Jay-Z had mixed his lyrics with a bunch of Beatles songs. Because I guess they had the White album, he had the Black album, and then so they did this thing called the Gray album. Well, anyway, they played it backwards. This minister played it backwards in his church, and Jay-Z was saying like all this demonic stuff reversed.
What?
So whenever I got to New York in 2009
On the Gray album.
on the Gray album,
I
yeah,
have to remember to look. This.
yeah, check that out. Yeah,
Let's look this
Well,
up
there's
after
some
the
stuff
show.
too, like
I wanna
the
see.
song "It's Fun to Smoke Marijuana." No, that's what it says backwards. But there's some song, if you play it forwards, it says something, but then if you play it backwards, it just says "It's fun to smoke
yeah,
marijuana."
backmasking. It's super
Yeah.
prevalent.
Yeah.
So anyway, so in 2009, so I'm in this situation where I'm in New York City. They've just driven me up there. I remember we rented a 2008 Dodge Caravan, drove 13 hours from Chicago to New York. My A&R's name was Tyreek Coles. They're talking to me about the deal. I'm like, hey, where I'm from in small town Indiana, there's a DVD circulating by a minister named G. Craig Lewis called The Truth Behind Hip Hop. He says that Jay-Z, which at that time he was the president of Def Jam, I said, this DVD is saying that he worships the devil.
He's
I'm
in
like,
the occult.
I was like, can you refute this? His exact words to me were, well, Mr. McIntosh, because that's where my name came from. I used to go by Jay Suede before that, which was Jarrell, which is my real name, spits with a definite edge. It was an acronym.
Okay.
So whenever I had the Def Jam deal, they're like, look, that name's not going to work. We got another name for you. It's going to be McIntosh because that's your real last name. And we're just going to run
real
with,
last name.
yeah, they're just like, we're going to run with McIntosh.
Yeah.
So that's where that actually came from. So if I would have signed the deal, they would own the intellectual property to that. But anyway, long story short, he said, well, Mr. McIntosh, not everybody's as Christian as you. And if that's not something you want to be a part of, I suggest you remain independent. We ended up trying to make a independent label called His Royal Highness that was going to be under Def Jam to kind of try to buffer the connectivity between me and the label. The lawyer wanted 51%.
Is that kind of like how Young Money is under Cash Money?
Yeah. And it's like, and so it's like, in a way, you can kind of try to make your own rules as an independent label, even though really it all still boils down to what the big label wants. Because I had asked 3 other questions even before that when I was like, well, I heard that they can tell you to get up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., fly to Anchorage, Alaska, and do a show with like some rock band biting the heads off bats and whatever else. And they're like, well, yeah, you know, you're going to be our artist. You got to do kind of whatever we say. And that's in a lot of contracts. You'll see the term due diligence or whatever. So essentially, you kind of have no control over your life. I was also like, I also heard that, you know, I'd have to take everything off the internet that I have now. You guys would be in control of everything I do as far as creatively. And they're like, well, yeah, you know, we'd own the name, which is the intellectual property part. And it's into the perpetuity of the universe. And they use weird terms like that kind of mean forever. And you're,
So, question on that.
yeah.
Just, I hate interjecting,
You're
but
good.
so they would own all the intellectual property of Macintosh.
Yeah.
But could you release under J Sweat?
No, not at all. Not
could
at all.
not
That would be
release
in
under a
direct
different name?
Yeah, that'd be in direct violation of the contract.
Well, and,
Really?
and there's like
Yeah.
certain people that almost signed to a label and they signed like a certain amount of the documents. Like Kevin Gates was in this situation where like he signed and then like something fell through
Yeah.
and he had to pay like $1 million to even get the name Kevin Gates to rap under.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
shit.
no, it's a crazy thing. So I kind of spiraled back down to Chicago after that. Like I was like
But you did
mortified.
you went up to New York. You finished the trip on the way up, right?
Yeah, well, after that happened, after he had told me that with the deal, you know, they, like I said, they tried to make a independent label and try to buffer it.
Lawyers wanted
Fell
too
through.
much.
Yeah, lawyer wanted 51%, which again would give Def Jam, you know, the last say on anything that happened.
Yeah.
So that kind of fell through, but I stayed with it because I was like, well, I'm gonna stay independent, you know.
Well, and your track record, you're sitting in, you know, Def Jam's building. Like you've already made it that far.
Yeah, and at that time, it's so crazy now because you look at like the Sam Smith Grammy performance, you know, you look at some of like the Maria Abramovich spirit cooking stuff. You look at a lot of the occultism in hip hop now, but at that time, it wasn't prevalent like that.
Right.
Like people thought I was literally like making it all up. Like
Conspiracy
there's
theories.
there's no way. And it's like, it's refreshing now kinda because it's like, it's starting to become like more obvious that like this is happening to people, and you got these artists like,
do you
I sold my soul, yada yada.
Do you think Diddy was having his parties in 2009?
No, but he was using those 808s that he was talking about.
No, well, here's the thing. When I was out in Philly, the boy band I was working with had a situation with Mark Pitts. Mark Pitts is an ex-manager of Biggie Smalls, and he was very close with Diddy, and those parties actually were going on. They've been going on for a while.
Was he out there wearing a shark necklace, shark tooth necklace?
I've never met him, but I know that from what I can gather from some of the music industry experiences
So wild.
the boy band had,
Yeah.
there's a lot of grooming that happens with male artists.
Dude, what are your thoughts on that? That's fucking gross, dude.
Well, I
They've
mean,
been doing it since the beginning of time.
Yeah,
that's one thing
honestly-
that like if you look at it from like even you think about early stories of like even BC before Christ, like they did it back then. Kings were with boys. Then you go to like the Spartans, they were fucking other Spartans, and like and then like you look at the Stoics. Like
Yeah.
the Stoics were like screwing their apprentice
Underlings.
until their apprentice became a certain age.
Their fellows.
It was
or
like
whatever.
a rite of passage or something along those
And what's
lines.
crazy about what you just mentioned is all the deities are the same, right? So you read in the Bible, you read about a Moloch, that's still around. People still worship that. You read
Yeah.
about a Baal, you know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah,
still
there's that
around.
golden calf out
You read a
front
lot
of the
of
World
Baphomet.
Trading Center.
That's all. That these famous people are like still tapping into these ancient energies, and they get everything they want out of it. But it's like no one ends up like happier after 20 or 30 years. They're not like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm so miserable.
I'm a
you know,
slave
like
to
this
this.
is terrible. But it's like you get in a situation where you want it so bad. You're from a small town. You want to be the first. You want to prove it to everybody.
Yeah.
You want to prove it to yourself. You know, and it's like you a part of you kind of wants to sell out, but then a part of you is like, but if I just remain authentic, there was something greater on the other side. If I just stay true to like who I am, and so for
And
me,
we
that's
had
kind of that.
we had a gentleman on the show not too long ago, singer songwriter Rush Slocum. He's a local gentleman. He's just put out his second album here, the self-titled mixtape. I believe it's out now. But anyways, we asked him a question about like staying authentic, staying true to you, not selling out and doing the
What's hot? Right
yeah,
now.
do what's hot type thing, because his music is very, very unique and original
It's
to
like
him.
21 Pilots esque.
Yeah, it's like 21 Pilots if they like were on mushrooms, kind of, almost, maybe. But anyways, at any rate, we asked him, we were like, so you'll stay true to yourself or whatever? And he said something along the lines of, I'm going to keep making what I think is beautiful, because you're an artist, and that's what art is. I'm going to keep making what I think is beautiful, and the great thing about this day and age is so many people are online and listening that there are people out there that also think this is beautiful, and as I keep doing it longer and longer and longer, more and more people are going to find it and think that it's beautiful, and that's kind of like his thought process behind it. Just keep doing what you think is art, and
Well,
like
that's what like
the followers will come. They will find
the
you.
ones that are meant for you.
Yeah.
Will.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
like Rick Rubin was talking about. Like if you're an artist and you are working on this project and you finally get to the point where like I show this video to you or I show this song that I've been working on to you, at that point, if I'm willing to show it to a friend, I might as well just release it to the public and see what happens.
For sure. Yeah. For
It's
sure.
an interesting thought process of his. I like Rick Rubin. I don't know if you know.
He was
Yeah,
the
no,
Beastie
he's-
Boys.
He's a legend.
Yeah,
No,
he's
he's
a
a legend
dope-
for sure.
Yeah. So let's take it back to this deal doesn't work out. You go back to Chicago,
Chi-Town.
Chirac.
Hell yeah.
So what
Dan Ryan?
happens there? Like you kind of got some hopes that are crushed, but at the same point in time, like you still have that fire in you, right?
Yeah, no, I stayed independent. I was able to work on that lottery ticket movie that came out in 2010.
Also, sorry to interrupt. You mentioned like you're helping in the production of these things. So what's that production aspect look like?
Well, with a movie, you just make a song and then they just use it as a part of the original score. So it's not so much like you have to watch the scene like in a voiceover type of situation. It's just you kind of, make the song and
Create
so,
a vibe to fit this X amount of
I
time
assume
frame.
they tell you what's happening. They're like, hey, this part of the movie or whatever is like triumphant. We need something triumphant here.
Well, in that case with that
Right.
movie, I was so close to the director that it was more of a situation where they were like, hey, we just kind of want something upbeat. It was a song by Ben Grimm and family called We Like to Party. And I was credited as a writer. I also produced it. So it was kind of a situation where the artist himself knew where to go. And then I just used my talent to create what they wanted.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
I got you.
Does that at that point, like when you start learning this production stuff, does that like change the way you create music at the time? Like
Because for me, I was still kind of reeling from the situation. Because at that time, the last $1 million deal in 2009 was 50 Cent. So $1 million deals weren't prevalent at that time. So to have something like that fall through, I was still kind of licking my wounds in a sense. So the movie was a big deal. Ended up coming back to Evansville around 2011. But I released a song called How You Feel that was on Kiss It or Diss It for 106 FM. It was the first local song to ever win. I think it was 7 weeks in a row against mainstream artists. So that gave me a bunch of renewed vigor and to get back. And that's when I recorded my first album, FCS From Complete Silence. That was in 2014. Did that at the Music Garage in Chicago Worked with a bunch of awesome engineers, or R.I.P. Larry Sturm, DJ Timbuktu also has passed now. But by like 12 or 13, I was feeling really good. I was able to act on Chicago PD in a small role. I was able to act
for
on
real?
Chicago. Yeah,
You've
Chicago
done
Fire.
acting too?
Yeah,
What the fuck? Dude, this dude's up.
yeah.
You're like a
Chicago.
magician, dude.
Yeah, so the Chicago
That's what the
Fire.
underground legend of Evansville, dog.
Yeah, no
Yeah, that's
kidding,
pretty
bro.
beastin'. Yeah, the Chicago Fire episode is from season 2. It's called "Forgive You Anything," and then the Chicago PD episode is from season 3. It's called "The 3 Gs." So I got arrested by the guy Atwater on there. So that
No
was
shit.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Were you mad when they were like, "You're gonna be the guy we arrest"?
Oh,
And
not
you're-
at all.
You're like, "Oh, goddamn."
No, not at all. So yeah, and then in 15, I took one more shot at trying to sign a deal. I had an opportunity with Maybach Music Group in 2015, but that deal was only $750,000 for 3 albums plus a 2-year label option or 2-album label option. So that was essentially 5 years. My lawyer
And that's
was
right
like,
when Rick Ross was just starting to blow up more.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like 2013.
He was already big, but-
2013,
Yeah,
he was already big, but like 2015 was
yeah.
when there was really fuel on the Rick Ross fire.
Yeah, he was doing his thing. And so that deal, my lawyer, a guy named Chris Cabot at the time, was like, you might as well get a job at Walmart before you do that. He's like, some people have cars that cost more than that, and you're going to be locked in 5 years.
Might as well be a greeter at a Walmart door.
Yeah, but the
What?
guy I was living with, which is the same guy who had been working with that boy band, he had like 8 kids, and shout out to him. He was just seeing the opportunity there because he was going to get like 20%. My lawyer was going to get 15%. The A&R at Maybach Music Group was going to get like 10%. So everybody was just kind of,
and then tax, so
salivating.
Uncle Sam takes you
Yeah.
down.
So I ended up coming home for quote unquote Christmas at the end of 2015. And
What's the
just stayed
quote
there.
unquote about?
Well, because that's just what I told the guy. I was like, hey, I'm going to go clear my head.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
And I've been in Evansville ever since, from 2016 to now.
And that's around the time that I think we started linking out because I think
Yeah.
I started in photography like 2015, 2016,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Have you been okay? One interesting question I have:
for sure.
as a Chicagoite,
Right.
I think that's what they call people from Chicago, right? Chicagoites or Chicagoans.
I think it's Chicago. I don't know.
Is it a
That's good
Chicagoan? Well, as an experienced Chicagoan,
Chiraki.
one. Somebody from the rack. Yeah, that's what I was
bruh.
thinking.
So okay, bruh. Look, I've driven through Chicago several times. None of which ever have I enjoyed. Ever. I've gone to shows up in like Wrigley. I've gone to a Green Bay game where I had to drive through Chicago to get up into Wisconsin.
You haven't driven through Chicago properly if there's not a gun hidden somewhere outside of the car
Well,
gap.
that's what I'm saying, bro. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the question I have. As a Chicagoan, did you just get used to driving on Dan Ryan? Whether it was the West Leg, Dan Ryan proper, like, do you just get used to it? Bro, tell the people about it because
One
it's
thing you
fucking
can-
wild, bro.
Yeah, and one thing you can never get used to is how they're like the mafia with the tolls. I mean, they are charging so much money
Yeah.
on every commute. The traffic should be illegal. That's one thing I do not miss. 55, 355, do not miss it. But it's a beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful place, beautiful food. If we ever go, got to take you to Portillo's. Got to take you to, MacArthur's. Got to take you to Uncle Remus. Got to take you to, get a Jewtown burger off the E-way.
Is it as violent as is Chicago really as violent as like I've only been there a couple of times to Chicago proper, and both times like I didn't like see any violence or anything, but like for instance, like the second time I went, my buddy and we went to this show at Wrigley Field, and after the next day we were like, we want to go see the Bean, the riverfront or the lakefront, and all that stuff. We want to go downtown and go see the Bean. Well, we were getting on the Blue. And as we're getting on the Blue, people were like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing?" We're like, "Oh, we're gonna go see the Bean," and they were like, "Oh, you can't, no, dude." They were like, "No, you can't." We were like, "Oh, what's up?" And they were like, "Yeah, somebody just got murdered there, dude, and there's blood all over the Bean and shit." Like, so we just got off the Blue and then like went back to our hotel, and we were like, "We're just going back to Evansville."
Well, my personal experience with the Chi
is it really violent there though, like all the time?
It is, but let me explain why though. Because all those guys, they all got a mom, they all got a grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And even in some of the worst parts, the reason the violence is so perpetuated is because you have guy A. Guy A gets killed by guy B. Guy A's friends then kill one of guy B's friends, right?
Yeah.
And so over time, the retaliation just never stops.
It's the same with the Middle East. We kill somebody and then they have 3 kids, and those kids now hate America because we killed their dad. So instead,
But I say that though because they're good, authentic people. And I remember when I recorded for Chicago PD, a guy I met, I went to his barbershop, his family barbershop. They were celebrating his grandma's birthday. She was like 86, and I mean, this dude's a hardcore killer.
Yeah.
But they still barbecue like us. They still, get told to sit down and or not use curse words by their families. Like it's like they're not bad people, but it's like, how can you quote unquote let it slide if such and such killed my cousin, and then my cousin's friends killed this dude's brother. So now anytime they see anybody associated with me and my gang or my clique, it's on site instantly. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, in a way, they're kind of pulled into it.
Then you end up with like Little Dirk, who gives millions of dollars to Chicago, getting wrapped up because his best friend got killed, and he put a hit out on the guy that killed his best friend.
It's like, it's a situation where it's like they're not necessarily violent people. It's just
They want
the culture
equal.
there has spun out of control when it comes to retaliation and stuff.
I just think about it if it were me, like, dude, if like somebody just like came up in here and capped Tom, you know what I'm saying, and then just like strolled out. Tom and I are best buds, have been for like 6 years now. But I don't think it's like, I just don't see how I could ever like justify me seeing a guy that guy knows and just being like, yeah, you're toast. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't justify.
Well, the difference
it, bro.
too, a lot of people like in smaller towns or whatever, in that same scenario, they're just going to call the police, right? It's like, oh, my friend got shot. Well, I'm just going to get the authorities involved, right? That's what I guess the normal American response would be.
Yeah.
But there, it's like there's this certain code to where it's like, we're not going to get the police involved regardless. So like one of the biggest memories when I first moved there used to be this place called The Circle, which essentially was like a street that people just kind of drove around the circle, kind of like in Evansville, how people used to drive up and down Green River Road,
yeah,
right?
yeah, Cruise Green.
Okay, well, we were in a place, the guy that I had made that beat with on the internet, who he claimed me as his cousin, so that helped a lot, you know what I'm saying, out there. But we were in, I guess, the wrong place. Somebody young was the lookout, pulled out a weapon, didn't use it. Nobody gets hurt, you feel me? But
He's just brandishing.
right, but my guy felt so disrespected, like there's no way I can let this slide. So I mean, not to put like too much out there to get him indicted, but long story short, there was repercussions behind that, right?
Golly.
And so it's a situation where it's like sometimes it's just what block you're on. You might be like, oh, it seems like this is a cool tourist spot. It seems like this place is safe, but you've got this gang of people, whether it be GDs, BDs,
There's etiquette.
four corner hustlers, or whatever, that are like, hey, outsiders can't come over here because we don't know who you are, what you're going to do. We don't know if you're going to try to call the police on us. We're probably selling XYZ out here,
Yeah.
whatever else. And so the first thing they do is they go to a weapon, but then it's like, okay, other people feel like they've got to be gangster too. So then they're going to pull a weapon. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just never stops. And so like the music industry there, in a way, it's kind of kept away from that. In a way, it's kind of separated from that because when people have a lot of money outside of like your Dirk situations and stuff.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, it's like some people are untouchable, and then the people that are on the ground floor just like scraping to get by, it's like they're just constantly in war with each other, and therefore it's like Chirac.
So, moving away from there and getting to Evansville,
For
how
sure.
hard is that to
Yeah.
like? Because Evansville has music roots, but they're maybe a bit harder to find. Like, so, like, do you go from like having this community of like music people, creatives around you, to then this area of like there's still some, but it's not like.
Well, in my case, it was different because everybody kind of knew my story enough to be like,
The underground guy.
that dude. You know what I mean? Like, well, that dude, he's established enough to where he can probably do something for my career. So I kind of got to pick and choose like who I worked with. If I thought somebody was talented, then I would embrace them. Even if I didn't necessarily think they were talented, but they had like a strong work ethic, I'd embrace them. And that went for videographers too. You know what I'm saying? It's like whatever you did artistically, if you had a dream for this, but you hadn't gotten the breaks that I got, it was like I wanted to show you a certain industry love as like, hey, maybe I can pass you along. And so that was what was so awesome about the Jelly Roll, the Jason situation, was because I actually met that camp in 2021 when all he had in his house was a YouTube plaque. And
Jelly Roll.
Jason, Jelly Roll.
He only had in 2021. He hadn't blown up yet.
Nah, not like. I mean, he might have been big, but like he wasn't. It's so hard to access that man now.
Now he's iconic. He's on a level.
But at that time they were. I mean, because his wife was recording the Dumb Blonde podcast upstairs, 2 rooms down from us. Me and his DJ were making beats. We were throwing Fruity Loops tips back and forth.
Yeah,
cooking up. His guitarist and the whole 36-hour band. They're a little smaller then. I think it was only Casey and a few other people. They were practicing downstairs. He had like this whole house on Music Row. And it was so crazy how I got linked up with him because I was recording at a studio and was just trying to find some weed. The guy that came was really good friends with Jelly Roll's DJ and took me over there. And then me and Jelly Roll's DJ got really close working on Fruity Loops back in 21 and just stayed close. And then they just kept getting bigger. I met his guitarist there too. And I had no idea that they were going to end up as big as they were. And so when they went on tour in 23, I just reached out.
He's already big
to my
at this
brother.
point. 2023.
Yeah,
Jelly Roll's
he was
huge at this point. Yeah,
But he had so much love for Evansville because he had done some songs with like a guy named King Cold here, and like he had some roots here to where they had showed him a lot of love. So he was like, "I'm gonna always put Evansville on my tour dates." And so his DJ was like, told him he was my brother. He was like, or I was his brother. He was like, "This is my brother." So they gave me a family pass. I'm cool with all their security. The whole 36-hour band, all the artists that have been on tour with them, they've all showed love just as like, oh, that's the DJ's brother. It was to the point that this last time when they came to Evansville in November of last year, I had no service down there. They had no service. I just literally went up to the tour bus and knocked and was like, yo, where's Chill? This, that, and they're like, oh, you're Chill's brother. Yeah, boom. And then family pass in the back.
What?
Got to walk out with him.
I do have a question.
Next time Chill comes to town, see if he wants to come on the pod.
Oh, for sure.
Hey,
No, I'll try to get everybody I possibly can.
Bruh, dude,
For
I
sure.
would literally shit. I would shit in these pants
We're
right now.
always, like you said, us being consistent. We're booked a month out, and we're still booking. Like as much as we can book ahead, we're gonna.
All right, stop sucking our own dicks. Let's talk about something else. I want to go back to what you had mentioned about you and Chill, how you guys started to get close, and it all just started from smoking weed or whatever, like getting high.
Sure.
I'm curious because like you do rap, you're really good at making beats, and you have like you do rap. You're very talented with music all around. Do you often find with other folks doing hip hop that maybe they just have the lyricism and less? How do I want to word it?
Like
less
they're a better
musical,
writer than they are. Like Eazy-E.
like just a good rapper but less musically inclined. Do you run into those kind of folks all the time, or is that less common? Are all the big rappers just like all musically inclined, or are
a lot of the big rappers, especially if you read their liners, they've probably got 4 or 5 writers on each song.
You think even Lil Wayne's got a writer?
Well, Gilly
Who's Gilly?
Gillian
the Kid.
Keys.
Gilly the Kid. He was
he was in jail.
Too.
You never seen $1 million worth of game?
Yeah, Gilly and Wallow. They're a great podcast to check out. They got a lot of money from Barstool. That's something that you guys could probably get.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
But what do you think?
Gilly
about
was
that?
in jail for a long time and like got out.
But I guess
to
answer your question though,
is it 50-50
there
split?
are very few. Like I would say the most talented person I've ever ran into that's an artist is probably Kanye for sure.
He's a fucking freak though.
That had like both the lyricism and the ear.
Yeah.
To where it was like, oh, this is super respectable.
He did a whole album with just gospel shit, and it
which is
bangs.
Kind of
Yeah.
like
And it
you're
bangs.
gearing towards
Yeah.
next.
Yeah, I've
And
been
it-
kind of giving it back.
Dude, and Chance did the same thing. He did a whole album with like gospel on the background, and
Yeah.
it just fucking bangs.
So like it was like kind of on your point, so like Eazy-E had all the money, but not, and like could spit necessarily, but like didn't have the lyrics or whatever. So like Ice Cube wrote most of his lyrics, right?
Or Dre. Eminem wrote a bunch of Dre stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
So, but like, do you ever find that like when you're helping these other people, you're like, hey, like you're really good at this. Maybe focus on this craft.
Well, what I've done in most recent, because I've only really been working with Jelly and them. That was kind of like my holy grail of like reintroduction to the
Like
industry.
a second wind.
That's
And I just-
wild. That's so
I just kind of
crazy.
chill with them. Like I do guitar, loops and melodies and stuff with Chill, and like I don't really press it because he's got so many people pressing on him trying to get into that family that it's like the last thing I wanted to do was to be, I don't want to say looked at as an opportunist, but it wasn't a situation where I was like, well, hey, what can you do for me? It was more so kind of like,
Just like you mentioned on the production thing, like you liked being there, you liked helping, people liked having you around because you weren't trying to get that spotlight. You were just there to help make the show go on.
and I wanted to learn a lot about the professionalism, because one thing, and shout out to John Manelli, who is his manager now, that works with Rock Nation or whatever. Their show is so professional. It's buttoned up. It's the same thing in every city. They know all the cues. They practice it. So I've been able to learn a lot about the professionalism aspect of being a major artist on that level, what it takes security team wise, what it takes from a DJ standpoint, what it takes from a hype man standpoint, what it takes from an opening act standpoint, what it takes from even just mic placement.
And like building that
stage
emotion of
working.
a set that we talked about previously in Rushes, where like you want to get some momentum and then you kind of want it to go down, but then you want to build up to like this very big emotional drop point, and then from there like send it back on out.
It sounds like you're just getting like an overall like
Play by play.
like a scope of just like a professional production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a very professional, large macro scope of production. And that's to be able to do that with somebody like with somebody like Jason, and
And
Chill,
to give any artist
that's crazy.
any like sort of advice too on that is just let everything grow organic. Because I think a lot of times people want to rush the process. They want to, I know this person or I have access to this person. Let me just make it something come of it. But, with me, it's more of a situation where it's like these are real people. They've got real feelings. They've got real concerns. They've got real tragedies that they're going through.
They have real families.
Yeah, and
they
it's
got
like-
real shit.
Sometimes it's like just a matter of just like letting it organically grow and become whatever it's meant to be.
And I think that it's like a part of your life. Like, so like from my scope of Evansville, you only have like two people that have like grown to this level, and it's you. And then there's King Wonka Beats, which I don't know if you know.
Oh,
KJ.
yeah.
Wonka's
Yeah,
wild.
I went to
bro.
high school
Yeah,
with
no,
him.
Yeah.
literally, and I don't even want to get into like too much of that story, but like his daughter literally did my first beat tag. Like,
What does that mean?
It was
I'm
like-
not
So
like,
like his is like get the bag, King Wonka, and it's
Yeah.
his
Oh,
daughter
yeah, the
saying it.
tag.
yeah. So she did the first
Machiavelli.
Macintosh made
Yeah.
it. Like Macintosh made it. Like she did the first one. Like me and him shared the same birthday, 10 years apart. His birthday is July 8th, same as mine.
how
We were sending out beats for Key Glock in maybe 2017.
we've talked about this.
Yeah.
yeah, before Paper Route
Dude, he
Empire
told me
even
I was
picked
gonna
him
have
up.
testicular cancer before I had testicular cancer. He's like, dude, you keep drinking that much Mountain Dew, and your nuts are gonna fall off.
Yeah,
They didn't fall off, just for the record, but he
Right.
did get testy cancer.
but
for sure.
like to see it's hard work. Like, and music is your life. Like, I remember he would get off school, he'd do football practice or whatever, then he'd go home
Yeah.
and like make beats.
Yeah.
grind.
And like literally we're releasing like this type beat, like releasing 4 or 5 beats a day, and then like all I see is you on live stream, like, hey, I'm live streaming, I'm smoking, I'm making a beat. Like as soon as you get off work or whatever, you're home, live stream, here's some keyboard, boom, here's some guitar, laying it out. And like I feel like hard work and consistency can pave the way, other than
and
just
patience
connection.
too. Because one thing I do halfway regret is like when I first got linked up with Jack Harlow's camp in 21. They were very kind, took us to Derby. They were shooting a video with Drake called Churchill Downs.
we got a funny.
DG beat him to the video.
We got a funny story about. Do you
That's
know Brandon
crazy.
Gabriel?
Yeah.
So he
Yeah,
got
smart guy.
he got a leak or something, or he knew about
The
Church.
music was the video. The song was already released,
Yeah.
and Derby was coming up, and it hadn't been.
So he went and recorded. What was the name of the song?
I don't know.
I don't
but
remember the
something
name
along the lines of.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. But he went down to Churchill Downs and shot a video with a videographer before Churchill.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was before the Derby video release. So BG
Let's-
like intentionally beat him to the
That's
punch
awesome.
because he knew it was
Let's
coming.
take a pee break, and I want to cover something else before we.
You want?
yeah,
all right.
I got to pee.
Hey, we'll
But
take a
then-
quick timeout. We'll be right back though.
And we're back from that wonderful pee break.
Oh
of
yeah,
draining
dude.
the bladder.
Honestly, sometimes I can hold it for a long time. I've drank a lot of water today though.
oh, McIntosh over here pounding the water.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Dude, hey, stay
Bladder
hydrated.
steel.
In the Army, I'm a veteran. I was in the infantry. We like to
Thanks.
say you should hydrate or you will die.
Wow.
Hydrate or die. It's a
Yeah,
very,
I
very common
I was
saying.
gonna be in the Army. I took the ASVAB and got a 95. I was gonna be a 54 Bravo chemical specialist.
Yeah, dude, you're a
My mom
genius.
talked me out of it. My mom was like,
You would have got a
"Please don't do
killer
it."
bonus for that,
Yeah,
dude.
no, it was. I support I would definitely,
God,
as a
that's
civilian, thank everybody that.
Good that you didn't go though.
Sacrificed.
Good on you, dude. Good on you.
So what were you saying about? So you were at the Derby.
Yeah, with Jack Harlow
Harlow.
and company, and they're all great people. He has a group under him called the Homies, and I was really, really close working with them. But I found myself trying to press the relationship a little non-organically, so it was always, "Hey, what are you working on? What can I help with?" Trying to get that beat on Jack so hard, like, I just
Right.
want to get a beat on Jack, and
yeah.
and I think what I learned from that, which is the difference in the Jelly Roll situation, is just be thankful to be around and just let it grow. Like, don't necessarily have a goal with it. Like, just be authentically family with these people, because there's not everybody has a. Because I was able to meet Taylor Rooks, who's doing her thing with ESPN now, and I don't want to say I had a chance to date her, but I was in a situation. It's on my
Bruh,
IG.
don't bullshit me, dude. I can.
Yeah, no, it's on my IG. Let's
you
go
can't-
to my IG.
You can't
real
bullshit a
quick.
bullshitter,
Yeah,
dude.
let's go to my IG real quick.
Hold on a sec, bruh. Hold on.
So when I was
You're
at,
on it, dude.
Yeah, so when I was at Jack, so go down just a little,
Yeah.
just a little. Okay, so that one to the left, right there. Click on that one.
Yeah.
There should be a couple slides to that.
Oh yeah.
So this is me at the Jack Harlow kickball. So that's me with Zach Bia, Drake's DJ.
Hell yeah.
And then that's me and Taylor right there. So it was a situation where like they had me in a lot of situations to where it was like I still have my jersey from that. I was on blue team.
This is
yeah.
fucking sick.
Because
Dude.
Jack came up very organically from being just, a guy. That's also one of Jack's, if you want to go down to the middle one, yeah, that's one of Jack's photographers right there. A guy named Steven Mobb. Shout out to him.
Dude, respect the mustache. God.
Dude, that's one thing that like I wish that like I would have like gotten pulled to like go shoot photos for some, because like
No,
you
I'll
see
do what I can, bro.
Well, you see
I'm gonna
some-
do what I can.
you see some of
Trying
these
to get you in with
guys that
these
like
people.
have photographers, and then you see like some of their photos are just like too blown out, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Like I want to be there.
That's just an artist thing, dude. Every artist is like that. Like, I love this, but why'd they do it like this? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I would have done it like that.
Yeah,
It's like,
but I'm also like a hidden gem in that world. Like I don't necessarily put stuff out there anymore.
one thing I wanted to mention about the Jack Harlow camp, and then transitioning, like learning what you learned from that, and then going into Jason's crew, working with Jelly Roll and whatnot. Jason, who is Jelly Roll. Do you think that it took away from, because you didn't really necessarily have an agenda, but you were, like you said, trying to get a beat on Jack, and you're just trying to like get in there, figure him out, try to make a link there directly with Jack? Do you think it took away from some authenticity of you and your work?
Oh, of course. Of course.
you're
Because it's
not-
all about, well, what is he working on now? What is he trying to, because I actually ended up writing 2 verses for him. And I remember one of his producers that was already in pretty big was like, this is very lyrical. This is very awesome, but it's also very cliche as to like stuff he's already done. And it's not where he's going.
It's not
Do you
different.
think-
It's
Yeah.
not different.
It's like, we need you to be thinking where he's going, not where he's been.
That's interesting. Do you think all artists feel that way?
Yeah, I think by the time as a creative, by the time you catch an artist they're trying to move on from whatever you heard.
What about
from them.
what about like Kevin Gates' newest stuff he's teasing, where it's like he even says, I've said a lot of this before, but I'm gonna say it again, and he like literally a lot of it's lines from other songs, but it's said in a completely different way.
I think it's a matter of like if your label has you in a certain lane that's been working for them money wise, then they're going to keep you in that lane.
Gotcha.
I think when you're a big enough artist to where
You can experiment.
you
and have that
can
leeway.
kind of set your own direction, then it's a matter of I want to evolve into said sound.
That was going to be my next point. Is
drop
that
college dropout and then drop
I feel-
Jesus is King.
I feel like you can drop three albums of the same shit. Like if you're good, if you're fire, like you're gonna drop 3 albums of this like the same shit. Carter 1, 2, 3. Like drop 3 of the same shit, and then I feel like once you hit, you become like really famous, like 2022, 2023 Jelly Roll famous. Now it is about. Now they're worried about evolution. Like, how do I evolve into a phase? Like, what is the next album is a new phase. And then I just feel like it's that over and over again.
And they found a vein to where he can lean into that country pop realm.
He does it well.
And so now it's like each album, because Beautifully Broken, this newest one, is much more country than the album that was out in 23. It's just like a situation where he's refining how to move into that lane. And I think as a creative that's around him, I think that's where I've been able to evolve as well, because when me and Chill get in and start working on stuff that we want to present to him and Shabuzi, and Ernest, it's like we kind of know the direction, going in. And so my rock background helps a lot, because it's like, hey, we can get into this, in my Evansville roots rather too, is like we can get into this bluegrass country trap fusion that has become a lane for him that has worked super well.
Dude, Boozy is, we didn't even really talk about Boozy, but like Boozy is really like, he's pretty, I say he's unique. Last of My Kind, beautiful song, very well put together. And then the one song that just blew up is Bar Song is wild. Bar Song is wild. It's a banger from beginning to end. But yeah, he's phenomenal.
No,
so have you met Booze?
Oh yeah,
he's wild.
Oh, yeah.
Is he
Oh,
tight?
Yeah,
Is
he's
tight?
cool. Yeah, no. And what was so crazy about Boozy was because when I first linked up with him on this tour in Indianapolis, I didn't even know who he was. I thought he was like a regular guy just
when was
backstage with us. This
in
was
2024.
Yeah, this was in November.
You didn't meet him when he came to Evansville?
Yeah, but when he came into Evansville,
it was a big deal.
I had done my research.
Right.
But when I met him in Nap, I was just like, oh, this is because there are so many people that are around. And so like when you're around that camp, you can just, I've gotten so comfortable now that I'll just ask people like, so who do you know?
Right.
Who are you here with? And I got to be very careful because a lot of the girls date people like in the band and stuff, and they're like photographers and stuff. And I got to figure out who's who and what's going on with stuff.
What's off limits.
Yeah, but with him, I was just kind of like, oh, this must just be like
another
guy.
Dude.
It's just another guy, black guy back here.
Yeah.
And then by the time
black guy back here.
But by the time I done my research, I'm like, oh, he's the guy that's got the bar song. Like, oh, he's legit. So yeah, so when he came to Evansville, we were able to actually share a meal and talk, and I told him about the pictures I took of him.
Is he real nice?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he's also got a very, very close relationship with Chill as well.
Oh, nice.
He knows Chill from outside. Chill's got a lot of the street authenticity for that camp.
Has anybody ever told him he's got to stop knowing people? He just knows too many people, it seems like.
It's good to know people.
He just knows everybody.
So, we touched on earlier in the episode about how like you're a thinker. What like are you thinking, or are you consuming content and then thinking about the content that you consume?
Well, no, I'm thinking in the sense of like, I understand that the thing about the music industry that is so tragic is these labels, they want to pay you to be an agent of distraction, right? So they want you to keep people's minds off of
a plane crashing
Southern
in
Hemisphere flight pass.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And
drones, aliens.
Yeah,
no one's talking about
North
it.
Pole, Rupus Negras. You know what I'm saying? Like Black Rock.
Yeah.
Like so they're like, we don't necessarily want people like to spend a lot of brain energy on that. So it's like, hey, how much can we pay you to get, if you're a woman, get up here and shake and dance and whatever else. Or if you're a guy, get up here and talk about shooting this person or that person or whatever.
Yeah, just write a hook like a banger.
Yeah, and so for me, it's been like getting back to the essence of how can I use my talent to wake people up to become independent thinkers. Like, okay, investigate the moon landing.
Into an existential
Yeah,
crisis?
investigate the moon landing. Investigate the Mickelson Morley experiment.
Bro,
Like,
you missed that train. Joe Rogan's got that. He already got it on lock, bro.
but there can still be more people. But there can still be more people. You know,
Right, like
there can
that-
still be always more people.
You're not wrong, dude. You're not
I'm blanking
wrong.
on the guy that wrote the song F Black History. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh,
What?
We'll play it afterwards.
Or like even if you go listen to Red Hot Chili Peppers and really listen to Californication and really listen to the lyrics.
Right.
Like really get deep in the lyrics. Like space might be the final frontier, but a shot in a Hollywood basement. Like they're already on. The people are already on it.
Anthony Kiedis, read his book if you haven't already.
What's it called?
Scar Tissue.
I will.
So fucking good.
I will.
You learn so much about it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
What's interesting is like we have several artists in here, people that do music, and I ask them like, "Hey, would you ever write music for somebody?" And most of the time they say no or whatever. Where you have, and you don't like. I feel like to them they take it as like, "Oh, I'm not gonna do that. If it's not me, then I don't want it." And you're like, "I'm gonna sacrifice this part of me in order for my love of the craft."
Yeah. And what's so crazy is talking about sacrificing yourself is like the labels will say certain things like, well, if you drop a song that's about the Antarctic Treaty, well, we're not going to let you release it. We own your intellectual property. We own your likeness and your image, and we don't want you talking about that kind of
And
stuff.
then, by the way, you
know?
got 2 more albums that are going to come out. They're not going to come out, so you can't release any more music ever.
Yeah.
Who did that, dude? Somebody just recently. They have like 2 albums locked up. Was it Chance? I think Chance has 2 albums locked up from his previous deal from like 4 albums ago. He's got the song Juice that nobody knows about. Do you know the Chance song Juice?
I think it was leaked. He leaked it.
No,
and
it's
then-
wrapped up by his lawyer.
Right, but he leaked it because it was wrapped. That's how, like, same with like Lil Wayne back in the day with all his leaks. It was because it was held up by Cash Money.
Yeah.
So then he would just, that song leaked.
Yeah, he's still in court for it now because it's a bop. You got to hear Juice. I got to play
Yeah.
that shit for you.
So,
But,
so it's just kind of one of those things where it's like,
I hate that they control
love,
you
hate.
like
That's
that.
why I said love, hate, because in a way it's like, I do love it. I do love the authentic people I've met. But at the same time, I hate the agenda. I hate the occultism and that type of
Love
stuff.
the craft, hate the story behind it.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's once you get behind that curtain and you can see the Grammys for what it is. You can
What's
see
really
the BET
happening.
Awards for what it is. You can see these shows and the sets for what it is. You can see what's going on behind the scenes. And you're like, oh, everybody's just getting duped. Everybody's just getting played. Everybody's just getting lured into this secret fraternity. And then they're like, okay, are you going to take this last step to become one of us and fool and lure other people or
Right.
not? And it's like, for me, it's like I had to decide that the desire I had to make it, quote unquote, I had to change my thinking on what making it really meant and be
You
like,
could view it from like an industry person versus like, I guess what would be the equivalent nowadays of like a Rush, right?
Oh, Rush Slocum?
No,
Yeah.
not Rush Slocum. The Russ. The rapper, the white guy. That makes,
Yeah.
He makes his
I
own
don't know.
music, produces it, raps over it.
but see, that's what I'm saying. But there's that wall of like, you see how he didn't know who that was. It's like you get a certain level that you can get to on your own, and you're capped right there.
Yeah.
Because they're like, if you want the engine behind you, if you want these doors to open,
You want plays.
you're
you want
gonna
money.
need to be aligned with this agenda
Right.
that we're
Yeah.
pushing.
What advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into music?
Be careful. I would say be careful, and I would say know yourself, and I would say temper your expectations. I would say have fun with it, but if you make it the end all be all to your existence, you're selling yourself short.
There's more to life than music.
Because you look at these famous people, and there are very few, if any, that are like, hey, my life is so much better. Now they're gonna make songs and talk about this car, this girl, that girl, this drug, that drug, and it's gonna seem fun. But you've got very, very few famous people that say fame has augmented my existence. Most of them are like, this is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. Is becoming famous and rich.
What about more specifically with the advice to the youngsters getting into music? Like if they're just like crazy talented, like this person we're talking about is going to make it. They just like a young you from 2003.
Okay.
what would be your advice to them for guidance on these certain things, like you just explained?
Stay solid, because
how do they find that guidance? Should they lean on family? Should they lean on
faith and family? And I don't, if you stay solid to what you believe, like if you believe in evolution, if you believe in, whatever higher power it is, you know what I'm saying? And I've been sober for a while, and that's one thing I love about the AA meetings is like it's the higher power as you understand it. So whatever that is, stay true to that. You know what I'm saying? And so if you stay true to that, then you can navigate the industry. You can be around whatever influence, and it's not going to affect you. But when you allow the industry to become your higher power, that's when you run into trouble.
So you think this new gospel soundish feel you've got is you going back to your roots of like where your love for music came from?
Yeah. I think for me, it's just a matter of like where my faith is, right? So my faith in particular is one that is shunned in mainstream media. So they don't let football players talk about Jesus on stage. They don't let big artists talk about Jesus on stage. It's in a lot of contracts that you can't talk about Jesus on stage. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, for me, if I can use my lyricism to bring the word of Christ to people, not so much in a way of like I'm preaching all the time, but just in a sense of like, hey, I can drop something that is still banging, it's still lyrical, it's still dope, but you're not going to get poison out of it. I had a song
kind of like Will Smith with his clean stuff.
In a way, but like I had a song that was on T-Pain's podcast, and he really liked it. But the song itself was about lean, dodging the cops, smoking weed, having sex with females. So at the end of the day, it was like it was still pressing poison to my community and to the community abroad, just in a really stylish, packaged way.
Is there like a certain amount that you would do to that? So like Lil Durk, for example, like has like 3 songs about killing somebody, then he's got like All My Life that comes out, and it's like a powerful song.
For me personally, I feel like it was time for me to challenge myself to use my talents for an agenda and a mission that wasn't self-serving. So for me, a lot of it was always, I can look cool to the chicks, I can be in these parties, I can be in these places, and the prettiest girl is going to like me more because of who I'm hanging out with or what I've done. And so I've gotten to a place to where now it's like, if I can wake people up to what's really going on, both in the industry, out in the world, on the planet, whatever, then it's like I sleep better, I die more comfortably knowing that I led people to a brighter light instead of pushing darkness. So that's where I got to.
You have to be comfortable within your own skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to be able to go to bed at night.
And die. No, that's the thing. And like the song that I brought is called Repent or Die. And it's a play on the Trap or Die by Young Jeezy. And it's a situation where basically it's just me kind of talking about,
Is that the one we're playing tonight?
Yeah.
Did you send it to us?
Yeah, he's got it on.
Do you have it? You got it pulled up and ready to roll? And that's one more thing. My last and final question.
All right, bet. Yeah.
On my side is I'm a big rock head, dude. I love guitar. I love drums. I love bass. I love a lot. I love music in general. I hate being one of those guys that says, "Oh, I listen to everything, dude." But I really love all and appreciate all music, even the eclectic. Like I'm in 100%. If you have talent, I'm there for it. But rock has always been like, especially Southern rock has always been a big thing for me. But like the track we're going to listen to tonight is like wildly different from anything we've had a conversation about tonight. It is 100% rock and roll.
Well, what's crazy
so
is
you're very talented in rock and roll.
Oh, well, that one's different. The one I started to play for you.
Oh, that's not the one we're going to listen to tonight.
No.
Oh,
okay.
I was confused. Okay.
Yeah, no. But the Blink 182 one.
Which is called what?
It's called Weekend.
Yeah,
that one is the one we recorded with Jeremy Ferguson, who engineers for Cage the Elephant. He's from Newburgh, Cage the Elephant being from Bowling Green.
Hell yeah.
So we were able to get a lot of authentic rock sound.
It's real. Like it's real rock.
Yeah.
That shocked me because I know you're great at beats and keys and lyricism and that stuff. And then I heard that and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're good at everything.
Well, I think too, like what a lot of white people don't understand is a lot of your like hip hop beats come originally from like a rock type beat. Like back in the day, like the beginning or whatever.
Yeah, no, especially like in a Run DMC days type.
Right.
Yeah, no.
A lot of those beats came from like these rock.
But this one's
chords.
like completely Blink 182. Like this one is skate punk
Yeah.
for sure. And I did that on purpose.
It's T Barker all the way.
Yeah,
for
because
sure,
I'm a big fan of that.
Well, it shows you're versed.
Yeah.
T
Yeah.
Barker is like hands down like one of the.
You got me wanting to send that one instead now, though.
He's literally the greatest percussionist in the punk rock facility, like hands down. No one. Travis Barker is just a freak.
Well, we're running a little low on time today, but we're gonna
it's
get
all
you
good.
back in a couple
all good.
months
I'll bring
before
the rock one next
before
time.
the year's over.
Yeah.
We'll get you back in. But we do like to ask every guest that comes in, you know, along this journey, this love of music, this love of life. Was there ever a dark moment where you wanted to throw in the towel? And we don't care as much about the dark moment. We care more about what pulled you through that dark moment. What
Also,
keeps you going?
I hate that he says that. I do care about your dark moment.
Well,
But not everybody wants to talk about it. Like if it's like something real dark, like
Well, we got into it deep already. It was
You know what I'm
definitely.
saying?
It
But,
was
like,
definitely 09.
we do care.
Yeah.
So I hate that you say that. Stop saying that.
No,
it
it was-
sounds fucking bad.
Yeah.
But like, no, the point is not everybody's comfortable talking about it. But what we care the most about,
That's how we got through it.
Yeah. What was your motivation?
No, it was 09 for sure. I mean, the situation with Def Jam was crazy
God bless
because you literally had a situation where I had a Christian minister saying one thing, making claims that seemed astronomical and crazy,
Erroneous. Yeah.
and then I get an opportunity to ask, my A&R while I'm on the verge of a deal that would change my life. I don't get the answer I want, and I have to decide if I'm going to still even do music at all, let alone trying to do it independent, going up against the machine. And what kind of got me through it was just having the confidence and knowing and believing that I stayed authentic and true to myself and true to what I believe in, and that in the long run, choosing to be a good guy would always turn out better. And so now, almost 20 years later, it feels like the right decision more and more every day, especially as I see the turn that the industry's taken. And so, it was dark, but what got me through was just the belief that in time, if I stay authentic, God will work it out. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I've seen. And that's what I believe will continue to happen as more doors open, as I stay true to this new sound. Even though, like I said, I want to play the rock one now that you're impressed with it. But
I was very, very impressed. It was fucking
What you
solid.
think? You think we should play the rock one, or you think we can do the church one
Hell,
next
dude.
time, or what?
We can play this one that's in here, and if you didn't like the way it goes, we'll swap it out with the other.
I'm good either way, dude. They're both.
I just kind of
I'm
want to hear them both.
I'm gonna send the rock one.
All right.
now.
While you send the rock one, I do like that idea of like doing things for the you of the future today.
That's discipline.
Yeah, like how you
That's
go
just-
running and everything. It's like you're taking care of you when you're 60. You're not going to be like I am, not able to walk or.
Yeah, you cripple.
Yeah.
You Steve Jobs looking son of a bitch. No, man, I think that authenticity is a thing that's it's a commodity running short in this day and age. I feel like everybody's just kind of riffing off everybody.
Trying to pick the trend and be the top.
Yeah, what's viral, what's trending, how do I get here, what gets plays, clicks, eyes, ears, butts in seats, stuff like that. I think the true pioneers that and we're seeing kind of a resurgence in like this Greta Van Fleet type of like weird retro vibe, like where these weird sounds are coming back from way back when. Like I think the true pioneers are going to be those that are like authentic, folks like yourself.
Or those that stick with it and have a love of the craft. Like even Harrison Ford didn't make it until he was like almost 50.
Yeah, he was like 50 something before he got what was it? What was his
Han
first-
Solo.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
Well,
Star Wars
He had
was his
another
first gig.
small role, 2 small roles before that. One of them wasn't even listed in the film credits. And
That
they
guy
list
from the-
everybody.
The guy from The Walking Dead, that British dude, Rick, the cop.
Sure.
Yeah, he didn't make it until he was like 40.
I just think investments for yourself in the future.
Yeah.
And dividends. It pays dividends to be
Yeah,
authentic.
and I do appreciate somebody that has a certain amount of internal fortitude, discipline, as you said.
And
It's
we
important.
can't thank you enough, dude. Calling you
I
on the
appreciate
spot
it, man.
last minute. I was like, man, I
No
gotta
shit.
get
It's been
awesome.
Macintosh in
Yeah,
here.
It's been awesome.
We snagged you
I
out of thin
appreciate
air,
it.
bro. And then one thing we do like to do last couple minutes as we're getting ready to fire up this outro song, where can folks find you? How do they get a hold of you? They want to book you for something? They want to collab on something? What's the best way?
Yeah, no,
Socials,
MCINTO $H everywhere. That was one thing that I did learn from the labels is how to kind of put it, be official on everything. I'm a verified artist on Spotify, Apple Music, yada yada yada. Yeah, man, just whatever. If they DM me any kind of way, especially for like podcast type thing, I've got a couple more of those I've got to do this month. So I'm excited about kind of where it's taking me.
We're excited to see where you go.
Yeah. So what song we playing? Let's final decision.
We're gonna play The Weekend.
Okay.
I'm ready, dude.
So
I'm ready. I want
this
to
has
hear
been
it.
another thrilling episode of the Days Grimm. My name is Thomas Grimm.
My name is Brian Michael Day.
And this has been Macintosh. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. This is
Yes,
going to
sir.
be Weekend by Macintosh.
Thanks, Mac. I appreciate you, brother. Hey.
Can't wait anymore. I just wanna party on the weekend. I just wanna party on the weekend, love. Who cares what we do on the weekend? I just wanna see you on the weekend. If I can have your heart for the weekend, you can have my body for the weekend. Not just anybody for the weekend. I'll be your somebody for the weekend.